So I'm delighted to be here today with Professor Simon Bolton, who is responsible here at the Faculty of Art, Design and Media at Birmingham City University for Applied Research and Enterprise. Simon, great pleasure to be with you today. And I would really like to understand a little bit more about your background. Can you tell us about your past experience and
Yes, I can.
expertise?
Yes. And thank you for inviting me to speak. Originally I trained as a product designer at the Royal College of Art, graduated, went to work in France, came back, and it was in the 80s, got involved with the fact that many people were using design but not in the right way, got involved with feasibility strategic, involved with the universities, and then progressed into developing my own businesses in Asia. I had a manufacturing business in China and a consultancy in Korea. And I have a connection with Birmingham. Many years ago was that I co-developed the pinch pull packaging system, which was developed jointly with a company in Birmingham that now is used by over 15 million people a week, and it's a £1 billion turnover product.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic, and you have a very broad experience, and I think we're tremendously lucky in Birmingham to be able to take the benefit of those insights and that experience. Can you tell us a little bit about your past, in your past working life? You've encompassed both life in academia as a professor, and obviously you have connections with very prestigious businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about both sides of that?
Yeah, I think that one informs the other. I think I'm a global thought leader for Procter & Gamble, have been for the last 7 years, working on advanced customer insight. And I think that what my passion is about is how practice informs theory and theory informs practice. So my relevancy to Birmingham is the fact that, yes, we develop a lot of academic stuff, but a lot of the issues have been developed working with some of the world's leading companies. I've fortunate to travel all around the world. I've visited 49 countries and worked in most continents. So I think this issue of how applied knowledge, which Birmingham City University is very well established for, is something that is part of my background and makeup.
Yes, and tell us a little bit about what you've actually done with Procter & Gamble, for example, P&G. Give us an example of how we actually can innovate and use the knowledge.
In reality, most people use the word innovation in the wrong way, as they use it as a substitute for creativity. Is that my primary role really with Procter & Gamble is that I get all the difficult problems. Is that they're the world leaders in consumer insight. I'm one of the experts they come to. Is that when they have challenging issues and they want to use a different lens to look at that problem, they come to me and my team. We have 4 PhDs in the Design Business Innovation Research Lab based at Birmingham City University, which I brought from my previous university. And our job is to help understand how to unearth latent innovation. Because the challenge for most organisations, if they can see the innovation easily, so can their competitors. So what we're trying always to do is to unlock the hidden innovation in opportunities, those things that people need but don't know they need, and that's my expertise. We've developed a lot of tools for unlocking dreams, understanding behaviour between technology and lifestyle. So those things help to what we call create an insight, which those insights are then used to drive new ideas that create business growth.
Right, and obviously growth is the big quest for all of us in business, and having come recently to Birmingham and the Midlands, can you give me some of your impressions about how we can drive growth and what you feel about our economy looking at it?
Well, I mean, one of the contexts why I came to Birmingham about 18 months ago is that Birmingham is the manufacturing heartland of the country. I think that Birmingham's quality is that it's very self-effacing, and sometimes we don't celebrate things enough that we have. I think that there's a lot of great companies that are based in the region. I think firstly we need to celebrate success more, that we're trying to do through the Birmingham Made Me activities and the engagement with business. I think also the fact that it's a multiple economy is the fact that we have new industries like media, the arts, but manufacturing is something that I think that it's become a little bit of a dirty word, You know, we have a lot of guys and companies that make stuff, make great stuff, and I think we need to celebrate that more. I think it's very positive, but it's how we, organisations like the universities, do knowledge exchange and help organisations grow. How we help them to take their capabilities and connect them with opportunities and translate those into what innovative outputs.
Yes, I mean, that is the big challenge, and it's of course been amazing to hear Apple's latest quarterly results, and as an example of harnessing technology, creativity and the market desire and demand, and what you can actually do when you drive all of that. Can you tell us how you see the role of the university, and specifically your role here, in helping us to drive this challenge for growth?
I think just unpacking the Apple thing, it's that obviously you have to have ability, but it's about having a mindset, you know, an innovative mindset. And I think that part of all universities' role is to help broaden people's perspective, introduce new experiences, but also accept the fact that some of the leading companies in the world, which are based, some of them based in Birmingham, they're far advanced on what we're doing. So it's avoiding naivety to think the fact that academia, it's a fusion between the two. And that's really my role, is to understand what is great practice in industry, make sure that's embedded within our curriculums and experience and research, but also for companies who are looking to grow, is to transfer some of that knowledge into these businesses. So I think really that's the heart of what my role is about, is ensuring the fact that we're at the leading edge of practice, but also the fact that our students and organisations we collaborate are getting that experience as well.
Yeah, so in terms of the student experience, how do you see that translating into that aspect, what the student is learning and their interaction with business here?
Well, I think that the best centres in the world have collaboration with their organisations, their communities. And I think the fact that within all our curriculums across, our faculty, there's a strong emphasis of external engagement, either through live projects, sponsored activities, or personal activity. And that really sort of gives a vehicle for applying some of the skill-based issues within an applied context, but pushes the intellectual application of those points. So those three things are really at the heart of making, world-class programs.
So if I was to ask you, and perhaps it's a really challenging question, what would a vision for our economy here in the Midlands be? And can you give me an idea of what your vision would be for the Midlands?
Well, I think that we've got to capitalise what we've already got. I think there's a lot of work to be done in terms into helping people to realise their capabilities and translate them into direct opportunities that they have. And I think that the phrase we talked about before, a lot of it is changing the mindset, because in SMEs the biggest challenge is time. It's not a willingness to take risks, not willingness to take on new ideas. So it's about how we create the space and time to support the SMEs and create success stories. Because I think the fact that we have a great region, and if we can celebrate success, show that I can do that, because Apple is a great example, but what I've found all over the world is that success in a region is about having local case studies or relevant case studies that people go, I can do that, that's me. And Apple's great, however, most of these companies aren't Apple.
No.
So I think that whole issue is about making sure the fact that we can bring some of these theories and practices down to a usable level, and people can say, I could achieve that, I can do better. And I think that comes back to the mindset, and also things that we've been developing with the left, like the How to Innovate programme, has been about making that transition from theory into practice and helping people to unlock their capabilities and giving them a framework to support their decision making.
Yes. So in terms of, just in summary then, we do have some great businesses, some great brands in this region, and if we take the amazing renaissance at Jaguar Land Rover that we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years in this region, we can, all of us, learn the lessons and build on that and celebrate it more, I think you're saying, and then look at how we can apply some of those lessons into particularly the smaller and medium businesses.
Yeah, I think we've got to appreciate that smaller businesses have a different dynamic. I think that the danger with a lot of the business strategy is the fact that SMEs have always been a very difficult component. Most business schools focus on larger, organisations. SMEs are a lot more dynamic and more integrated in terms of their activity. But I think it's the fact that we should be more confident in the fact that we have world-class quality in the region. And the thing is that confidence creates more desire in other people. It's the role of people like ourselves to help break down that complexity and give them ways that they can utilise some of those activities to grow and impact on their businesses.
So I wonder if you could just give me a little bit more information on how we engage with businesses, in particular small and medium-sized businesses, as a university.
Yeah, well, I think we have our institutes, creative industries industry. That will be, we have a launch pad and landing zone concept where organisations can come into the university cold. But within the faculty, we've been developing through the Rapid Innovation Programme is that there are three key levels. There's what we call the Create Programme, which is helping start-up businesses to develop their businesses. We have then the SME Growth Programme, which is about helping SMEs maximise their potential and capabilities in relationship to opportunities. And a lot of that is helping them to, two things we've observed through our practices where we've helped people is that many organisations don't actually understand the motivations of why they're doing it. And because of that, they struggle to use their networks properly. So one of the key things is how we get them to understand their capabilities, their opportunities, and how they can use their networks to achieve that. Then the final program is called the Boost program, which is working with multinational companies to help them boost. And what that does, that creates an ecosystem so that we have the relationship with the larger companies, connecting with OEMs and ODMs through SMEs, and then creative clusters who are supporting some of the SMEs.
Okay, activities. Can you just explain some of that language? OEMs,
OEMs are organisations who make, for example, for the pen, they make components.
Yes.
So the primary objective is, and with original equipment manufacturers, is the whole strategy is that it's all about price. So that's why the governments try to move them to what they call original design manufacturers. So they're actually designing the pens. And then the final stage is them owning their own brand and creating a brand. So I had a lot of experience of working in Asia, particularly with Chinese government and Korean governments, about helping organisations make that transition. How do they maximise create a brand and brand value which gives them a clear position. And what I always say to people, be a world-class original equipment manufacturer. Because if you're not a world-class OEM, you're never going to be a world-class brand. So it's building those capabilities.
And can you tell us a little, some of the clear examples of how you have been able to work with businesses in the past to create the value?
Yeah, I think that there's a number of ways. A lot of SMEs, in terms of, I'll talk about brand development, I'll talk about product development and then services, is that one of the key challenges for many SMEs is that they don't communicate what they're good at. So in the past, they've done a lot of work in the UK of helping SMEs to reposition themselves, and so they can communicate who they are and what they're really good at. I mean, because the thing is, they're in a competitive environment, and there are people downstream and upstream that they have to communicate with. And I think that in this region, we could achieve a lot of growth by working with key SMEs to help them to understand what their position is and how they communicate their value to their customers and their customers' customers. So that's one area. Product development is the fact that most organisations, there are two ways that this happens. They're either helping them through design to bring a new technology to make the process easier or cheaper. So that's design for manufacture. That's the typical intervention where people like myself have had years of experience of working across lots of different industries. And what you do is you help an organisation bring in another technology that makes the process easier to produce, but also gives them a benefit of adding value to what they can do with that process. The second thing is the fact that using an existing technology, but adding that level of refinement and quality to how they deal with that to produce quality objects. I mean, this is one of the critical things for design, and we have some great examples in the region of luxury manufacturers where their expertise is on that nuancing of the detail And that's a big thing that and you can add value to an SME by helping to understand how they can refine those processes to create more quality outputs that then they can charge a higher price for, which makes them more profitable. And then services really is the fact that the situation now is that more and more brands now and manufacturers are offering their products themselves direct to the consumer. So there's a situation there where you're building a whole ecosystem, a business model around that. So those are the sort of three of areas that we've been involved with helping people.
Yes, it's very interesting to hear about the greater focus on collaboration, that the businesses are far more networked, the importance of the network, and how we as a region can grow that. And I suppose the central role of the university within that network or ecosystem, as it is referred to. How do you see businesses coming into that ecosystem?
Well, one of the initiatives we want to do is pull together really high quality manufacturers. It's the fact that so we can promote the fact that their expertise is of world-class value. And then through places like the university, we can do demonstrator projects that show how those things could be used in different ways. That then puts a focus on the region. We can then bring collaborative partnerships together which use these technologies or processes or skills in new ways to create new opportunities. And I think that is the thing that I don't think we're maximising. Milan and Italy in particular is very good at maximising its unique manufacturing expertise, but I think that they're happy to celebrate that. So I think we have to celebrate that in the region, encourage people to come together, and people like ourselves in the universities have got to demonstrate how that could be used in new ways.
Do you think it's also a question of understanding more about our supply chains, or if that's still the appropriate terminology even?
Well, I'll give you an example. Supply chains with De Rigger a few years ago. I was working with one of the big aluminium can manufacturers. And I'll give you an example. Supply chain was all about getting down to an efficient logistics. However, what they said to me is that their problem was there were only 3 aluminium suppliers in the world now who could supply them. And now they control their innovation. I think supply chain is important, is that we've changed. We don't have all those capabilities in-house, but you have to do it for the right reason, not just cost reduction, but also looking at how you use your supply chain to creatively innovate. And that's something that is a new area that we've been doing some research with Milan Politecnico in that area.
I think it seems to me that the challenges are on many levels. I mean, we have to, as you say, energise the supply chain or the partnerships in value creation. But that really means understanding a lot more about what we've got in terms of our assets in the region. But as businesses, we also need to understand much more about our capabilities. And if we really are adding value through greater and greater specialisation, and that specialisation comes in product refinement, service refinement, and brand creation, and I suppose the ongoing dialogue with the consumer, and ultimately then the role that we play as part of that ecosystem. Does that feel like a summary of the position?
I think it's an evolution. I think that firstly what we don't say is that it'd be naive to say we're not doing things that are good. Our role is to help people to get to the next level. So I think firstly to really state is the fact that one of the key challenges that design sometimes has is that by very nature you go into an organisation and say I can do it better implies you're not doing it very well in the first place, which is not a good starting point. But I think it's about how we help people to evolve to the next level and grow. And if we do that, that creates growth, it creates expansion, it creates development. And I think it's that evolution, and our role as universities is to work with people to help them to achieve uplift.
Exactly, move forward.
Both in people, processes, practices, and so forth. Because end of the day, the thing that is crucial to all businesses is your people. And universities like ourselves, our key asset is people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Professor Bolton.